Hello, everybody. My name is Paolo Gaudiano. I am co-founder and chief scientist of Aleria. And today I'm going to talk to you about how to use the platform that Aleria has developed to measure inclusion as part of the WiCyS 2023 State of Inclusion Benchmark. Now, there are other videos that you can watch that explain why we measure inclusion and what we mean by inclusion. But very quickly, in a nutshell, we recognize that inclusion is crucial to the success of an organization and to its level of diversity. And it has to do with all the things that happen day in and day out to people in the workplace. And what we really want to measure is actually exclusion. We want to know about situations in the workplace that have interfered with your ability to succeed, to perform at your peak. Our platform is designed to provide a completely psychologically safe, secure, confidential, anonymous way for you to share with us experiences of things that have happened to you in the workplace, and then use a simple categorization scheme to help us extract some quantitative data that, combined with the descriptions of your experiences, can give incredibly powerful insights about what is going on that influences inclusion, and more importantly, what organizations can do to improve matters. So let's go ahead and get started. What I would like you to do is to point a browser to the website measuringinclusion.com. When you get there, you will be greeted by the screen that you see up here. And there are two buttons. I would like you to click the top button, the one that says Set Me Up, unless you're coming back having already entered data, and I will mention that later. But for now, please click the top button. You will get to a screen where you're asked for an organization code. If you are an employee of one of the strategic partners of WiCyS, they probably gave you a code unique to your organization. If you have that, please enter it here. If you don't, or if you don't remember it, or if you can't find it, you can use the generic code WiCyS-inclusion. You can make it uppercase, lowercase, it shouldn't really matter. Either way, enter this code, and I will mention in a moment how it's going to be slightly different if you use a unique code or the general code. But in either case, enter the code and click Go. The first thing that you will see is a statement that explains in detail how we ensure your psychological safety, because it is crucial for us to get high-quality data. We will ask you about some demographic data, but we will not ask you about any personally identifiable data. We will abide by labor law departments about not using demographic data to try to divine who you are. And we will never share any data that could potentially identify who you are. So once you've read that statement and you're comfortable with it, and you press continue, you will have an opportunity to submit some data voluntarily and completely optionally about your identity and about your workplace. Now, I would like to emphasize that all of this is entirely voluntary. However, the more information you give us, the more value we're going to get and the more value your organizations will get. So the first thing that you do is that you should notice that this is like a fill in the blank, like a little Mad Lib. You click any of the blanks, and at the top, you will find 4 blanks or 5 blanks that have to do with personal characteristics, your race and ethnicity, your gender identity, sexual orientation, and so on. For each of these, there is a wide range of choices, but at the bottom, you will always find one that says prefer to self-describe. And if you click that one, you can then type in your own description. You can skip any one of these, but again, the more information you give us, the more powerful the results. Beneath the individual identity traits, there are also a few questions about your work. If you use the generic code WiCyS-inclusion, you will see a drop-down with the names of all of the companies that are members of the WiCyS strategic partners. There is also a choice of not a WiCyS strategic partner, or you can type in, if you go to the bottom, you can type in your own choice. Either way, if you are going to select one of these companies, then please also enter the rough size of the company. Whereas if you already use the name that was pre-selected with a different code, you will not need to do that. In addition to the company, we ask you a couple of things about your role overall, how long you've been in the organization, and your overall level of satisfaction. Once you have done that, you will see a screen that has an anonymous ID. As I mentioned, because of the fact that we do not know who you are, we don't ask for your email, we cannot track you. If you enter some data and then leave the website and want to come back, you will need to have stored this unique ID. Otherwise, you will need to start again and re-enter your demographic data. If you used a regular browser, it may be that even if you close it, when you come back, you may remember you for some time, but it's probably safest if you go ahead and copy that string. We will not be able to do anything with it, and we will not be able to help you if you lose that ID. Once you click that you're okay with that, you can start by sharing experiences. And your screen is going to look something like this, except of course it's going to be bigger. I'm showing you the entire screen on one page. And at the very top, you have an opportunity to share an experience. Here's what we would like you to do. Please type in something that happened to you in the workplace that had a negative impact on your work. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything about I mean, it can be anything. Of course, if it's something like harassment, microaggressions, please absolutely talk about it. But sometimes it's even things like not being given permission to go on vacation at a time when you wanted to go on vacation, or maybe asking the IT department to fix your computer and finding out that it's taken them many weeks to do it. It's the power of the collective data that helps us to understand where there may be particular issues. So the more specific examples you can come up with, the better. For instance, someone might type an example that says, I found out that I'm paid less than my male colleague who's junior to me. The next thing that we ask you to do is that we've come up with this way of categorizing inclusion or experiences of inclusion through these different buckets, such as career and growth, compensation and benefits, recognition, work-life balance. There are 8 of those. What we ask is that for whatever category, whatever experience you plug in, you can choose between 1 and 3 categories. If you feel the necessity to do more than 3 categories, perhaps what you described is a little bit too general, and you might want to narrow that down a little bit. This tells us about what is happening, but next we need to know why it is happening. And what we have realized is that there are many sources of experiences in the workplace, and that could be anything from policies at the company level, maybe it's your leadership, HR, your direct managers, et cetera, et cetera. So we ask that you select between 1 and 3 sources of the experience that you just described. If you happen to be a fairly senior individual and your direct manager is also a member of the senior leadership, then please select both direct manager and leadership if you're describing something that you would attribute to that individual. The next thing is that you can choose, this is optional, but we ask that you specify whether the thing that you just described is a one-time occurrence or something that happens regularly. Lastly, there is a box that by default is set to no. If you leave that box as it is, anything that you share, we will be the only people ever to read it. Nobody will ever see it outside of Aleria, and it will not be included in any reports or any of the studies that we do. However, it is incredibly powerful if you're able to allow us to share some of your experiences, because first of all, we can include some of them without attaching any demographic data in reports that we give to organizations, which will make it much more clear what is exactly happening. And to the extent that you feel comfortable that the thing that you described cannot be traced back to you, and by the way, we will actually ensure that there's nothing in there like names of people or departments or locations to make sure that it's absolutely impossible to trace it back to an individual author. But if you can say yes, that would be fantastic. And that's it. Once you click the yes or the no and you do submit, that will disappear, that experience will disappear and go down to the bottom of the screen. You will see it at the bottom, and we'll have an opportunity to start with a new experience. I ask that you try to share as many experiences as you can think of. And the more experiences you give us, the more clarity everybody in the field of cybersecurity will have. And furthermore, you can come back tomorrow, you can come back next week. In fact, this particular portal will be open until the end of the year. At the end of the year, we will close it down, collect all the data, analyze it, and generate a report with WiCyS that will come out sometime in Q1 of next year. So thank you so much, really appreciate it. And if you would like to enjoy some of the other videos that talk more about the background, you're welcome to do so. Thank you.